Has the Queen of Control finally lost her crown? Find out what's going on as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So the new patch is out. It is live. It is going. We've got some nerfs. We've got some buffs. Not that many nerfs. A couple of interesting buffs. We're going to go through them all. So the first one that we are going to talk about is the one that's kind of weird, kind of interesting. Storm got changed from a 3-2 to a 4-5. Now, this is kind of a weird one because I like Storm on 3, and that might be her issue. But according to Second Dinner, the reason that this happened was due to the Storm War Machine Legion combo that was happening. And if that was the only thing that they had that was keeping this from staying where it was, I almost wish it would mess with Legion more. There's a lot of things that need to happen on 3, a lot of locations that you need to take down on 3. And I'm not sure on 4 if Storm still makes it, since this pretty much gives you almost every single turn that you can play on every location. The only turn that you can't play in a normal game would be 6 on that location. And it also is fighting with Limbo. Limbo and Storm are the big 2 on this. Now, ironically, this almost makes a kind of interesting thing for Rhino coming around now. And Rhino has not seen life or play for the longest time. But now, with Rhino being a 3-drop that can basically take down a location, and so many locations needing to happen to be destroyed on 3, Rhino is a good thing to show up. Also, there were so many times where you would play down Limbo and play Storm on top of it. Now, you might have to throw Rhino into that to get that to work, just because of the fact that 4 is hard to slot in, even on turn 7. I worry that this might make Storm no longer relevant. I'll have to see about that. It's sad to see her go away because I have a ton of really good variants for her, and if this does make her go away, that's bad because she's one of I think the first cards that you get. She's really far back in the day. Where is she? Series 2, yeah, she's really early in the game. So I'm really concerned that that's what's going to happen to Storm. Is it's going to only be in one deck going forward, and that might make her just slide out of existence. Another weird one, kind of interesting one, is Rockslide got moved from a 3-3 to a 4-5. This is weird. This is interesting. This shows you exactly how good 2 rocks are as opposed to 1 rock, where a Korg is a 1-2 and a Rockslide isn't a 2-4. You know, it's all the way up to a 4-5, and that's when it was a 3-3. What you would do is on turn 3 you'd play down the Rockslide, and on turn 4 you basically follow it up with like an Absorbing Man and get a lot of stuff in your deck for Rocks and Hawks. I'm surprised that the reason this is still running around is for Rocks and Hawks. Because this is coming down even a little bit later, there's less opportunity for your opponent to draw the rocks, which kind of takes out some of the bite of the Rockslide. It is interesting because of the power spike that you're getting now on it. A 4-5 is a relatively good stat line, but unless you have some other reason to, you might not get around to having the rocks appear at all. Last one that we have for the Nerf side is we have a Klaw. Klaw got changed from giving +8 power to giving +7 power. It's fine. I'm not sure why this needed a nerf. I'm not sure where this was the broken meta of all the world. I haven't seen a Klaw really out and about doing real damage in a very long time, so I guess somebody had numbers that I'm not seeing. Alright, so those are the nerfs. Let's talk about the buffs. First buff that we have up here that I want to talk about before we get into any of the other ones is the major buff that we happen, which is the Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary is still a 410, that didn't change, but the change that happened to her is that instead of her giving -1 to all locations, she only gives -1 to the location that she's in. So if you have even 3 other cards down on her, she's giving -3, which makes her basically a 4/7 on the worst of days. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat to this, that for some decks, this was actually a buff for things that were using the negative gaining power effects that did exist on there. So if that's what you're using, then this kind of is not as good for you, because, and that might be part of what the change on this was. By getting the power spike on the one, Typhoid Mary had to get changed, but it's kind of also interesting because so many 410s just now exist. With Typhoid Mary, with Crossbones, with even a Tuma, you now have enough 410s that you can actually make this weird, interesting 410 deck. Next buff that we had happen here was Misery. Misery got changed from a 4/7 to a 4/8. Knew this was coming, saw this was coming. I think they even announced this while Misery was still a card that you could get in the Spotlight Cache. They just underperformed on Misery. I'm not sure this is going to make Misery see much more play. The problem with Misery is that early games matter. And because Misery doesn't absorb the power, because Misery doesn't give you back the power, because Misery doesn't even destroy everything in the lane, it makes her a very weird card to throw into a rotation. Next up on the list of things I never thought I would see happening is Electro. Electro got changed from a 3/2 to a 3/3. Still works exactly the same. I'm not sure why 1 point on Electro mattered. 9 times out of 10 what you're trying to do is kill the Electro in some way, shape, or form. But I guess if you're not killing it, that 1 point is good enough. To fill in with that extra interesting stuff here, Daredevil got the same treatment. Went from a 2/2 to a 2/3. Again, not sure why that needed to exist. This one makes maybe a little bit more sense, because you want the Daredevil out for much of the game. Maybe you can win the Prio, but you're winning the Prio hopefully on turn 5 anyways. But 1 point is 1 point, and 2/2s are basically non-existent at this point. So maybe it needs to be looked at the entire curve again at some point. Maybe there needs to be a readjusting, a squashing of stats or something like that. But that is a change to Daredevil. And last but certainly not least, hang on, we got 2 more. We've got Meek. Meek got changed from a 1/0 to a 1/1, sorry. So, I think this is where Meek was at one point, and they thought he was too strong. And he's not strong even as a 1/1. I'm sorry. He can even go up to 1/2, and I don't think it would change his life. Okay, now for the last one, sorry. We have Shadow King. Shadow King went from a 2/2 to a 2/3. I am honestly shocked, amazed, surprised, whatever word you want to use, that more people don't play Shadow King with all the cards that exist that are starting to have the ability to be buffed, that are not an on reveal, that are not an ongoing, that just do what they're supposed to do. The fact that more people aren't slotting in Shadow King, that Shadow King isn't more of a menace on the board, is amazing more than anything else. The one extra point to this might finally convince people, hey, I can play Shadow King, and then they'll see how good it really is. So those are all the nerfs and buffs and changes that happened in this week's patch. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.